Hi guys, welcome back to Mer Murder, where we put the Mer in murder. I am your host, Mercedes Rose, and I am so grateful to have you guys here with another episode. I don't really have any updates or anything really significant to say at this very moment. However, I would like to give a big shout out to LaCroix. This is not sponsored or anything because who am I right now? But I have been drinking their coconut water, sparkling coconut water for like over a month now. I am obsessed. I don't know if I ever said this on the show, but I am like the type of person that gets obsessed with like one food. Like I have a hyperfixation meal or like a drink or a snack. Like right now, LaCroix is taking it because this coconut, if you haven't had this, no, that's not true. I was gonna say, I don't ever really like rave. That's like the furthest thing from true ever, actually. I think all I know how to do is rave about something that I like. So I don't know why I'm starting our relationship off with lies. I'm so sorry. But LaCroix coconut water, LaCroix sparkling coconut water. Oh, like, oh my gosh, it's so good. I'm actually drinking it right now. And that's really all I got to say. Please try it as soon as you can. And if you like any other flavors, please let me know because I'm sure in like 2 or 3 weeks, hopefully not because I do really, really like it. But I feel like I am going to get very bored of it soon. But if there's any other flavors that I should try, I'm very like, I'll hyperfixate on something and then I'll just forget all about it and never go back to it. So I've been trying to do this thing like when it comes to music, movies, like if I like a certain artist, I'll listen to like the 3 songs that I really like and I won't go further into their catalog. So I've been trying to get in the habit of experiencing something that I like and then continuing to look into it and enjoy it. So if I like this one flavor, I'm sure there's other flavors that I would like. So if you do have one that you like and you want me to try, please let me know and I will let you guys know in the next episode if anything was suggested to me. If not, I'll just take it upon myself to go try something on my own. Yeah. But yeah, I hope you guys had a great week. I hope you guys enjoyed the last episode and I hope you guys enjoy this one. If you get this chance, please don't forget to leave a rating and any comments, leave likes, support the show in any way that you can. And thank you all so much for your support. And let's get into the episode. Being yourself is the act of showing up and presenting your most authentic form without pretense or fear of judgment. This is a principle that is ingrained in each and every one of us from the day we are born until the day we die, as authenticity is one of the most respected and valued traits a person can have. But what does it tell the world when someone is murdered for doing just that, being themselves? O'Shae Sibley, also known as Sage by his loved ones, was born on September 1st, 1994 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania to his parents Onethia Sibley and Jake Kelly. O'Shae was a very free-spirited, bubbly, and social kid, which came pretty natural to him as he was one of 11 siblings with 6 brothers and 4 sisters. He kept himself pretty busy throughout his adolescent years, but the hobby that stuck with him the most was dance. He began his dance career at the age of 12, where he practiced under dance teacher/choreographer Clyde Evans Jr., a hip-hop dance teacher native to Port of Spain, Trinidad. Shout out to the Trinis. Sorry, I can't help it. O'Shae trained under Clyde for 2 years before he was offered a dance scholarship to the Philadelphia School of Dance Arts. It was at this school where he trained under Deborah Manning St. Charles, a Philly native who also happened to be an Alvin Ailey legend. It was under her direction that O'Shae would discover his love for ballet and jazz and would be able to strengthen his technique throughout his craft. A little side note, if you weren't aware, Alvin Ailey is one of the most prolific Black American dancers and choreographers who founded the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater in 1958, as well as the Alvin Ailey Dance Center in New York City, which created a safe haven for Black artists and dancers to embrace and perfect their craft. It has now grown to become one of the most iconic dance companies in America, period. Just 2 years into his enrollment at the Dance Academy, O'Shae was accepted into Phildanco 2, a Philadelphia dance company that allowed O'Shae to not only shine as a performer, but also expand his horizons in dance and perfect his technique. As O'Shae's professional dance career took off, he was offered numerous opportunities and was a part of many influential projects. So in 2020, when he was 25 years old, he moved to New York to chase his dreams and solidify his place in the dance community. He was able to join a dance program, which was an extension of the Alvin Ailey Dance Company, becoming beloved by all of his instructors and classmates and just being known as, quote, a light. He even went on to join an all-queer dance group where he choreographed and danced in many pieces with the group online and in public. You see, O'Shea often used his talents and passions for dance to advocate for social issues. For example, he was a part of a dance video project called Vogue for Black Lives Matter, which supported the movement created to highlight the injustices and racism that Black people face, especially in terms of police brutality and violence towards Black people. Unfortunately, O'Shea would meet his demise just 3 years after moving to Brooklyn. The very place he traveled to express himself in the way he knew best was going to be the same place to teach him and those just like him that expressing yourself and being you could lead to devastation for no reason at all. On the night of July 29, 2023, O'Shea and 4 of his friends were traveling back from the Jersey Shore after spending the day at the beach celebrating a friend's birthday. The group of his friends pulled up to a mobile gas station located on Coney Island Avenue in Midwood, a little neighborhood in Brooklyn not too far from where O'Shea lived in Brownsville. As the group began fueling their car, they blasted a couple of songs off of Beyoncé's latest album, Renaissance, and began dancing and voguing outside of the vehicle. The group of friends were simply enjoying their moment and minding their business when a group of aggressive young men exited the gas station and started hurling insults and threats at O'Shea and his friends. The group of young men yelled obscenities at O'Shea and his friends, yelling at them to stop dancing and calling them racist and homophobic slurs. One of the young men yelled at the group, quote, "Stop dancing here. We are Muslim. Get that gay shit out of here," end quote. This young man would later be identified as 17-year-old Dmitry Popov, the son of 2 Russian immigrants who resided in Sheepshead Bay, a neighborhood just a little over 10 minutes from the gas station. Of course, O'Shea's friends did not take this interaction lightly and defended themselves against the group of young men, which ultimately led to an argument amongst all of them. The mobile gas station surveillance caught the whole altercation on camera. At around 11 p.m., both groups, O'Shea and his friends and the group of young men, are shown arguing back and forth about the situation. Witnesses on the scene stated that the group of younger men were telling O'Shea and his friends to, quote, "Go somewhere else with that," which led to escalation of the argument. In the video, it appears that the argument begins to die down. No one put their hands on anyone, and eventually the younger guys realized that they couldn't bully O'Shea and his friends or shame them for being who they are as gay men. The younger group began to walk back inside the gas station, but one of them stayed outside with his phone in his hand, recording O'Shea and his friends while continuing to hurl homophobic slurs at them. This young man was Dmitry Popov. With Dmitry still antagonizing the group of men, he got the reaction he wanted as they began to turn around and step back up to Dmitry, prompting both groups to return to the spot that they were initially at and arguing, but this time it was more hostile. One of O'Shea's friends fueled the confrontation with threats to fight Dmitry, and this prompted a couple of fights to break out between the men. It's unclear who began the physical altercation, but one thing was clear. O'Shea was primarily focused on trying to break up all of the fights. During one of his attempts to defuse the situation, O'Shea was stabbed in the left side of his torso, the blade piercing through his chest and puncturing his heart. The fatal blow was dealt by none other than Dmitry Popov, using a 5-inch kitchen knife he kept on him for alleged protection. Directly after the stabbing, Dmitry and his friends fled the scene. Eyewitnesses later told police that they saw Dmitry escape in a large black SUV that sped off from the scene. Left behind was a severely wounded O'Shea, who was left on the concrete, slowly bleeding out. His friends tried their best to render aid, tending to his wounds before he was rushed to Maimonides Medical Center, a hospital about 20 minutes from the mobile gas station where O'Shea was stabbed. Unfortunately, after arriving at the hospital, 28-year-old O'Shae Sibley was pronounced dead, leaving his friends and loved ones traumatized and devastated, wondering why and how the sight of young black gay men enjoying their night and expressing themselves offended Dmitry and his friends so much that night that things resulted in the loss of O'Shea's life. As O'Shea's friends and family were left to navigate this new world without their beloved son, brother, and friend, the NYPD began navigating their own investigation into O'Shae's murder and their search for Dmitry Popov. As the detectives received more information via eyewitnesses and the gas station surveillance footage, they ruled the altercation and murder as a hate crime, and this is when the NYPD's Hate Crime Task Force took over the investigation. They spread the details of O'Shea's murder to news outlets and social media platforms in efforts to capture their suspect, Dmitry Popov. But it didn't take long to find him, as just 6 days following the murder, Dmitry, accompanied by his attorney, turned himself in to the NYPD on August 4th, 2023. Dmitry was charged as an adult with second-degree murder as a hate crime and criminal possession of a weapon, and he was held without bail. Now, although O'Shae's murder took place in 2023, we are all well aware that the justice system works at an extremely slow pace, and 3 years have passed since Dimitri was charged and subsequently pled not guilty for O'Shae's murder. I actually began writing this episode on Wednesday, May 27, 2026, and it just so happens that this was the same exact day that Dimitri, now 20 years old, took the stand and testified for over 4 hours in court for the murder trial of O'Shae. Here is a little synopsis of his testimony and cross-examination. Dimitri Popov was dressed in a white button-up shirt and black slacks as he recounted the events from the night of July 29, 2023. He and his friends were in the Mobil gas station off of Coney Island Avenue when he was called over to see, quote, a man in a jockstrap dancing. This amused Dimitri, who said, quote, at first it was funny to me. A guy was dancing with his butt out, end quote. So he began pulling his phone out to record the man, that man being one of O'Shae's friends. Dimitri stated that it was his friends who were yelling out the homophobic slurs to O'Shae and his friends. He stated that the only thing he said to the group that night was, quote, you guys get out of here, as O'Shae and his friends began to disperse, but he insisted that he was not a part of any hate speech. However, it was Dimitri's antagonizing that caused O'Shae and his friends to return and continue to defend themselves. According to Dimitri, he felt he was being surrounded, which prompted him to pull out the kitchen knife he kept in his pocket. He stated, quote, I was showing keep a distance, and allegedly one of O'Shae's friends said, quote, put the knife down, let's fight. Dimitri's defense attorney, Mark Pollard, stated that although Dimitri falsely claimed to be Muslim the night of the incident, he was actually, quote, a good Christian boy. And he summed up the altercation as an act of self-defense. He played a section of the gas station surveillance video that showed O'Shae running towards Dimitri. However, the prosecution felt that the video showed a completely different story. Prosecutor Sarah Jafari raised her voice as she pointed out that at least half a dozen witnesses testified to the fact that Dimitri Popov was in fact hurling homophobic insults at O'Shae and his friends. The prosecutor questioned Dimitri, asking him if he is sitting on the stand accusing the witnesses of blatantly lying in court, in which he responded, yes. This prompted Prosecutor Jafari to go ahead and play the gas station footage, which depicted not only O'Shae and his friends leaving the initial argument, O'Shae even shown holding up the peace sign as he walks away, but also showing Dimitri remaining outside as his friends walked away. He's shown holding up his phone and recording the group of men as he's smiling and yelling at O'Shae's group, proving that he remained outside to antagonize and insult the group of men. According to Dimitri, however, he was just telling O'Shae and his friends to, quote, go away. Prosecutor Jafari repeatedly pointed out that Dimitri had numerous chances to walk away, yet he chose not to, even after all his friends said, okay, enough, and walked away. Dimitri Popov made his own decision to stay and antagonize O'Shae and his friends for simply being themselves and expressing themselves freely. Ms. Jafari also had Popov confirm that he did not see O'Shae with any weapons at all during the entire altercation. She also questioned Dimitri on the whereabouts of his phone that he used to record during the interaction, the same phone depicted in the videos. Dimitri simply stated that he had thrown the phone away. Under New York state law, a person cannot claim self-defense if they started a confrontation and if, when they had the chance to walk away, failed to retreat. If 20-year-old Dimitri Popov is found guilty of his charges, he can face anywhere from 20 to 25 years in prison. Unfortunately, this is where we are at with O'Shae Sibley's murder case. Dimitri Popov is still on trial, but hopefully by the time this episode comes out, I can follow up with an update regarding the case, and hopefully it's a good outcome, which gives O'Shae justice for his untimely death. After O'Shae's murder, an uproar occurred in the New York City streets. I mean, for God's sakes, it was 2023, and one of the most liberal cities in America. Something like this was pretty much out of the ordinary. The LGBTQ plus community immediately took to the streets and protested against O'Shae's murder, and community officials, lawmakers, celebrities, and allies all soon followed suit. The mayor at the time, Eric Adams, publicly acknowledged that the stabbing and murder of O'Shae Sibley was a hate crime, and he vowed to find the perp responsible. New York State Senator Brad Hoylman Segal tweeted that he was, quote, heartbroken and enraged to learn about O'Shae Sibley's death. Celebrities such as Spike Lee and even Beyonce posted tribute to O'Shae. Beyonce posted on her website, quote, rest in power, O'Shae Sibley. There were dozens of vigils to honor O'Shae's memory and legacy, numerous rallies and protests from New York City to LA to support gay rights and bring awareness to LGBTQ hate crimes. And there were even public protest dance events called Vogue as an act of resistance, where hundreds of people flooded the streets to dance and express themselves in the same way O'Shea did best, and doing the same moves he and his friends were doing the night he was murdered. On July 31st, 2023, 2 days following O'Shea's death, his father, Jake Kelly, along with his family, posted a GoFundMe to help raise $10,000 for the funeral services of O'Shea and help bring his body back home to Philadelphia, where he would finally rest. Mr. Kelly wrote, "My name is Jake Kelly, the father of O'Shea. We are raising funds for his homegoing service to help cover costs due to this untimely and undeserved hate crime incident that cut my son's life down just because of his sexual preference, which was just not fair to him in his prime." O'Shea not only was the glue to this family, he was a great dancer and performer for the majority of his life. His spirit lit up every room he stepped in. His smile was contagious. To know him was to love him. He did not deserve this. Everyone loved his spirit. With over 2,000 donations to the GoFundMe, his family was able to raise $72,673, blowing their $10,000 request out of the water. O'Shea's family was able to give their son and brother the services and resting place he deserved, thanks to the overwhelming love and support from their community. O'Shea was kind, bubbly, talented, authentic, and just the embodiment of a free spirit. His aunt Tandra, who helped raise him, recalled one conversation he had with her during an interview with People magazine. He told her, quote, "Aunt Tandra, I just want to dance. I feel free when I dance." And I think that pretty much sums up just how absolutely tragic this case is. O'Shea was murdered for being in his truest, most comfortable form of self. He was enjoying his night, his friends, living freely, and a group of closed-minded, hateful people were offended by that. So offended by that they tried to dim his light, and one of them eventually took his life. But I think what everyone should take from this case today is that we are all the same. It doesn't matter who you love, what you look like, the color of your skin, your religion, how much money you make. None of that matters. What matters truly is how you spend your time on this earth, your happiness, and the decisions you make. More importantly, how those decisions affect you and other people. O'Shea and his friends were living their lives the way they were supposed to. They were happy, and they weren't doing anything to affect anyone else. Dimitri and his friends weren't living. They were hating. And unfortunately for Dimitri, the decisions he made cost him his future, his reputation, and affected so many other people, more people than just him. It damaged the lives of so many undeserving people. If there's one thing I want you guys to take from this episode, it's don't be a Dimitri. Be an O'Shea. As we wrap up today's case, I want to leave you all with a resource that could be useful for some of you and pertains to today's case. You can call the LGBT National Hotline at 888-843-4564 for confidential peer support, guidance, and resource mapping. So now we're at the part of the case where I give you guys my rating for the police/detectives as well as the judge/jury. But obviously in this case, since it's still ongoing, there won't be a rating for the judge and jury just yet. But hopefully I can give them a good one in whatever update we get soon. And hopefully they don't disappoint. But the segment will still be pretty short, as there isn't much I have to grade the detectives in this case off of. Dimitri turned himself in just 6 days after the crime, so they didn't have to do much searching, but I do want to give them props for releasing the info really quick after O'Shea's murder, because that led to overwhelming public support and calls to action, which I can assume applied the pressure that was probably brought on to Dimitri to turn himself in. So I'm going to give them an A- because they didn't have to do much, but the decisions that they did make were the right ones in my opinion. And yeah, my sources for this week's case have been abcnews.com, cbsnews.com, cnn.com, findagrave.com, glad.org, gofundme.com, gothamist.com, nbcnewyork.com, newyorktimes.com, nnbartlettfuneralhome.com, people.com, and wikipedia.org. And that is the end of today's episode, guys. I actually got a little emotional. I cut it out, but there's something that really disturbs my spirit so much when people just live their life, and I don't like the people these people were raised by are just so close-minded and old school and disgusting and vile. I can't comprehend the fact that some people in the world, and it's not even just about homophobia, it's not just about racism, it's like so much, like people just see other people living their life the way that they want to, and for some reason that deeply affects them. I think a lot of people just don't have anything going on in their personal life, and they're just so miserable, and the only time they feel powerful is when they take something in their own hands, or when they feel like their voice matters in this one situation. And I honestly feel like in that situation, I feel like Dimitri was probably just trying to show out for his friends, but there's always that one friend that takes it too far. And I think he's just, not that that's an excuse or anything, but I think he's just a loser. I think if you really were a real man, you wouldn't need any other man's approval, and you wouldn't need to feel cool for your friends because, oh my God, yeah, look at me harassing these other guys. Like, they were not worried about you. Like, none of those kids had to come out there and be like, oh my God, this is all this gay shit, da da da. It has nothing to do with you. I don't even want to get into it. It just disturbs my spirit so bad. And if something really bothers you so much, you separate yourself from it. Maybe that's something that you have to be taught and they just weren't. But I think it's pretty much common sense. Like, if you don't like something, you don't agree with it, remove yourself from the equation. You can't affect or control anyone else's actions. You can only control yourself. So if you don't like something, you leave. You don't need to talk about it. You don't need to confront anybody. Leave them alone. And it's not like they're out here cussing people out, acting crazy. They're dancing in their car, enjoying their time. But something in your evil spirit was so provoked, you felt the need to say something. I hope none of them can honestly sleep at night. I hope it's been haunting them for the past 3 years, and I hope it haunts them for the next 300. I hope it haunts them for the next 3,000, because O'Shae didn't deserve that. His friends didn't deserve that trauma. His family doesn't deserve this pain. Nobody deserves any of this. But I really do hope, I really, really do hope that whenever we get an update, it is the best possible outcome. I hope, honestly, the judge just says, you know what? I feel like you should get life. But, it's not my choice, not my decision. And there's a reason I wasn't a judge, because I feel like if I were a lot of the judges in these cases, I would be the iron fist. I'd be like, nope, death. They would remove my spot so quick. Oh my gosh. But anyway, all of my prayers and deepest sorrows are being sent out to O'Shae and his family. I can't imagine what it's like to lose someone like that. And it's 2023. Like, they're acting like it was 1933. It is like, you never seen a gay person in your life? Like, oh my gosh, get over yourself. And it just made no sense. It was just so ridiculous. All you had to, like, if you really were that upset and then you guys got into a fight, it would have just been a fight. You did not have to stab anybody. Like, people, like, that's how some people just aren't developed fully up there. Like, they just need help. I really wish nothing but the worst for Dimitri. And I wish nothing but the best for O'Shae and his family. I hope he's up there dancing. So that's really it from me. I love you guys all so much. Thank you so much for supporting the show. And if there's an update, I will follow up with you guys. Not if, when there is. I'm sure there will be an update. I'm not sure how soon, but when there is an update, I will follow up with you guys as soon as possible. And thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for the support. Don't forget to interact with the show. Don't forget to subscribe or follow or give it a rating, comment your thoughts, and follow the show on TikTok, Instagram. And yeah. I love you all so much. Please be safe and take care of one another. And I hope to see you all next week as we put the Mer in murder. Bye.